I be asking for a refund. Everything they do for DLC, they need to defund. Thoughts, level cells, everything in here is hell. Ever been to the county jail? Pray that you get some mail. Lock, stock, too late in the key. Done, forgotten, they forgot about me. Lock, stock, too late in the key. Done, forgotten, defund DOC. Lock, forgotten, threw away the key. Done, forgotten, they forgot about me. Lock, forgotten, threw away the key. Done, forgotten, defund DOC.
Welcome back to Defund DOC. I'm Linda, and with me is Daniel Sims.
Hello, friends.
Today we're diving into a chilling possibility, the connection between artificial intelligence and mass incarceration. AI is rapidly transforming our world, and the criminal justice system isn't exempt. But with this progress comes a terrifying potential future.
Absolutely, Linda. We have a real big problem on our hands. If history repeats itself, which we all know it does, there is going to be a big danger ahead of us.
Let's take a quick moment to acknowledge the complexity of this issue. AI has the potential for great good. Imagine a world with AI-powered medical diagnostics that can identify disease at the earliest stages, saving countless lives. AI could revolutionize education, personalized learning experience for every student, and maximize their potential. It could even combat climate change by optimizing energy use and spearheading the development of sustainable technologies. But AI can also be misused. We need to be aware of the dangers and actively work to lessen them. Bias creeping into algorithms could lead to discriminatory outcomes. Imagine a situation where a facial recognition program misidentifies someone based on their race or ethnicity, leading to wrongful arrest.
Absolutely. There's a company called Clearview AI, which New York Times published an article about. They essentially created artificial intelligence facial recognition software that could literally, and this was stated in the article, that could end your ability to walk down the street anonymously. And that's chilling. That essentially means that nobody can exist in this country or potentially this world without having a database somewhere in some place tracking them.
That's why it's crucial to have diverse teams developing AI, constantly auditing algorithms for bias and implementing safeguards. Transparency is also key. People need to understand how AI decisions are being made, and there should be avenues for appeal if they believe they've been unfairly impacted.
Yeah, so I agree 100%. And these appeal processes should not be dealt with by people that are already in the judicial system that have positions of power over poor communities, disadvantaged communities, mental health communities. The people of the appellate oversight should be people that will be adversely affected by the pervasive overuse of surveillance technologies in regards to AI and the dangers that associate with them. So our position at Defund DOC is that we need more community involvement. We need people that are adversely affected to be a part of these processes as we move forward.
Back to the dark side of AI, Defund DOC isn't just about human rights violations. The bigger concern is what happens when AI takes over many jobs, from factory workers or retail clerks to even truck drivers. Think about it. The widespread unemployment due to AI could create a huge underclass. History tells us this often leads to a rise in crime, especially among the impoverished. People with limited opportunities and bleak futures may resort to desperate measures.
Yeah, that's 100% true fact, Linda. This is the thing. Currently, there's already robo-cops in Dubai. They're Ream robo-cops, and they're patrolling the streets of Dubai. They got autonomous drones that are policing and surveilling the cities. They got essentially humanoid robots that will have fully articulated fingers, hands, toes, and legs that can virtually do any task or job that you can, and they're coming soon. Autonomous vehicles are already traveling our roads. Autonomous freight trucks are going to be deployed within probably the next 10 years widely. Are currently 50 unique robots being developed today that will reach into every aspect of our lives. That's the thing. We already know that when we lose masses of jobs in this country, we dealt with it during the 70s in regards to industrialization. What happens is a very dark future for the impoverished, the working class, the poor, and their descendants. They're going to get stuck in criminal culture, in gang culture, in drug culture, and they're going to be ensnared by mass incarceration. This has already happened. It happened in the 70s with the explosion of mass incarceration to today. I mean, early to 70s, the incarceration rate was around 200 and something thousand, while today it's literally at 2.3 million. So that's just those that are incarcerated. That's not including those that are felon underclass members. So that statistic is exponentially bigger. And once you become a member of the class, of the slave class or the felon class, it's over. The elites have created slavery badges, which we call them stigmas and disenfranchisement, but they're basically slavery tags and slavery badges, just like they used to have back in the slavery time. It's essentially going to be used against our people. And so once these technologies unroll, you're not getting away with nothing in this country, literally nothing. So just expect yourself or your descendants to be incarcerated or become a felon at some point. And if you know that and you believe that, which is 100% true unless you're a part of the elite class or in the power structure, then you need to be a part of this movement.
This is a lot to take in, and it's a future we must actively fight against. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are solutions on the horizon. One proposal is a universal basic income. This would provide every citizen with a guaranteed income, regardless of employment status. A universal basic income could help alleviate poverty and allow people to pursue education, training, or new career paths. It would also give people more leverage in the job market, preventing companies from exploiting cheap labor.
Yeah, so I haven't heard anybody talking about this. We just came up with this at defunddoc.net. This is one of our proposals in regards to the coming wave of joblessness and the poverty that comes with it. So our argument is that every AI robot that replaces a body has to be replaced with a universal income for that body, period. You can't unemploy wide swaths of the American people and then expect them to live in poverty for the rest of their life because a new technology has come along to steal their job. That's unfair. That's unreasonable, and that's going to lead to a revolution. The American people demand a universal income. It has to happen. I don't care what kind of a capitalist you are, whether you're on the right or the left wing, Democrat or Republican. You cannot let millions of your fellow Americans get stuck into a system of poverty and joblessness without having a remedy or a way for them to exist. It's just unjust, and it's going to lead to further mass incarceration of our people. So we need a universal income, Linda, and I thank you for bringing that up. That's a very, very important topic.
Another solution is to focus on retraining programs that equip people with the skills they need to succeed in the AI-driven economy. These programs could focus on coding, data analysis, cybersecurity, and other in-demand fields. We also need to invest in education, particularly STEM education, to prepare future generations for a world increasingly reliant on AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is going to be the thing. You know, you're either going to be a programmed person or you're going to be the programmer. I mean, that's where we're going. And currently, United States has to reckon with the fact that mass incarceration is a plague. It's a systemic slavery scheme that has been inflicted upon the American people using propaganda to demonize our sons and daughters that have perhaps make a bad decision. Please point out a politician that has not made a bad decision, and he can cast the first stone upon the American people that make bad decisions. Let's do that. There's been a gentleman that wrote a book that expressed that humans are a product of their environment. There is no true free will in this world, and I believe that. I believe that everything is a matter of behavioral health that has to do with their environments, with their abuse that they may have suffered as a child, and environmental factors and culture. People are not born on an island. They're a product of those that are surrounding them. So absolutely, we need more training. We need more creative outlets. We need more education for our people. We need to address these things, and we need it to happen in these places that they call prisons, which are actually plantations.
Regulation is also crucial. We need laws in place to govern the development and use of AI. These laws should protect privacy, prevent bias, and ensure transparency. We can't let corporations and government develop AI in a vacuum, prioritizing profits over human rights.
100%. This is the thing. Computer program algorithms are human-made, and AI is no different. Sure, they got generative software that can gather information, but where's that information coming from? It's coming from humans, and humans are prejudiced. Humans are biased. Therefore, their production is going to be full of prejudice and bias and discrimination. So to allow our country to be dependent upon AI is to essentially to cede ground to a system that could be potentially corrupt and discriminatory. So we need to have community overseers regarding the communities that are going to be impacted, like the minority groups, prior felon classes, people in the communities of poor, mental health survivors. I mean, the list goes on and on of the people that should be part of the actual overseeing of this AI potential and what the dangers it could produce.
Finally, and most importantly, we need to build a movement. We need public awareness about the dangers of AI and mass incarceration. We need to hold our elected officials accountable and demand they prioritize the well-being of all citizens, not just the wealthy and powerful.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. When masses of people are out of work and impoverished, crime is subtly more attractive and it becomes a cultural norm, especially when the alternative is starvation, humiliation, and beggarly status. Most of us choose to abstain from crime in part because we have a lot to lose if we get caught. The calculus for an unemployed dropout with readily available criminal options and few licit prospects is likely to be quite different, says Philip J. Cook and Jens Ludwig in the book The Economic Guide to Crime Busting. This is the thing. Robocops will be arresting millions of our people in coming years. Every conceivable crime imaginable will be prosecuted. You will not get away with anything. Don't lie on social media. That's called wire fraud. Don't lie on your bank statement. That's called bank fraud. Don't in any fashion overstate your income on a tax form because that's tax fraud. These are felonies, people. This is what is coming. And don't become homeless because they'll criminalize vagrancy. This country is going to become a police state. You and your descendants are going to be incarcerated once AI has taken over. The government elite classes will consider the unemployed, impoverished as criminals and excessive drains of society, rather than our fellow Americans capable of rehabilitation and change, like defund DLC believes. So therefore, just keep this in mind. These technologies are coming. They're coming. And it will not be a small, slow evolution. No, it's going to come quick. And you and your children will most likely be classified as the criminal class. If somebody in your family got a felony, you're most likely going to be considered a pre-slave, or they'll use a different euphemism, but we all know they're using crime as a pretext to enslave our people. The elites have been doing this for decades, and they're going to continue to do it unless we speak out and explain how we do not like slavery as a punishment in this country and abolish the 13th Amendment. And this is the thing. This is not a unique proposition. Elites in the politics and law enforcement have been employing these cruel strategies for generations. Ruling elites use the police to control the working class communities and maintain the existing order of capitalist relationships, as said by Sidney L. Herring in the book Policing a Class Society, The Experience of American Cities. We are just about to see the new age of that, ladies and gentlemen. The people programming these AI algorithms and this software, these people, they don't understand the history of these elite enslaving our people. The numbers of felon slaves of all races will be astounding. DefundDLC.net has calculated, based on historical data beginning in the 1970s until today, completely on the actual data, that half the United States population will have a felony record, be jailed, incarcerated, or be on some form of supervision in the next 50 years. It is a very bleak future for you and your descendants, ladies and gentlemen. The world of technology, AI, and robotics specifically is growing exponentially. Nowhere is this more noticeable than the software applications that AI has already expanded to. Just check out ChatGPT, Bard, and tons of other AI applications. I get it. It's good stuff. But seemingly overnight, a new technology capable of revolutionizing virtually every aspect of human life has invaded our world. Potentially 60% of all Americans are going to become unemployed. Their jobs are going to become obsolete. This happened in the 1970s, ladies and gentlemen. Congress had to enact the Warren Act in response to extensive worker dislocation in the 1970s and 1980s. This is 100% fact. So in the 1970s, when all those people lost their jobs, it's no coincidence that widespread unemployment occurred at the exact same time that mass incarceration detonated and burst upon the unsuspecting American population. Our people could not anticipate how incredibly precarious life would become for the most disadvantaged citizens. Between 1965 and 2000, the U.S. prison population has swelled by 600%. That's in the book Incarceration and Social Inequity by Bruce Western and Becky Pettit. The horrible expansion or explosion of caging our people didn't stop there. The U.S. prison population has increased another 76% between 1999 and 2010. It's resulted in a 37% overcapacity. That's in the book At the Crossroads of the Three Branches, the U.S. Commissioner's attempt to achieve prison reform in the midst of interbranch power struggles. Just keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that this is not imaginary abstract stuff that's happening. Soon our sons, our daughters, and neighbors and descendants are going to be incarcerated or have felony. We are not going to continue to sentence our children to die in prison. Let's have an actual community here at Defund DOC where we can actually organize and be against this corrupt system that we've had for so long. It's time to have real treatment, real rehabilitation in our system. Let us have people releasing from prison with bachelor's degrees, doctor degrees, and not keep them past the amount of time that they need to get that stuff. All this government should be in the business of is saving and restoring our people, period. They should not be in the business of enslaving our people and keeping them in extremely horrible, violent conditions. And that's what Linda, me, and Defund DOC are about, and we have a lot of good stuff happening with this movement.
We'll be right back after this short break to continue this conversation.
We have a great need for volunteers. Currently, we are seeking brand ambassadors in every city and state. No experience is necessary. All you would need to do is run social media pages, get a city or state defunddoc.net website, and then simply like and share our social media posts and copy and paste content from our website onto yours. We need your help to amplify the overdue message of change and reform.
Hey, everybody. It takes funds to keep this social justice mission going. We have bootstrapped it with our own money, but we need your help moving forward. So we are exploring ways to raise funds. One way is if you want to share your product or service with our audience, you can easily become a sponsor. Just use our website contact form. Another is purchasing my books, Hopeless in Seattle, The Art of Living, and Defund DOC. We are selling a supporter digital bundle of all three for the price of one. If you rather have a physical copy, you can get them on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other book platforms. Next, we have defunddoc.net merchandise for sale on our websites, Etsy, and TikTok. We are working hard at giving you value for your help. We want this mission to succeed and achieve reform so that you and your descendants do not experience this horrible criminal justice system.
We are excited to include new features for our community. The first is those that are already subscribed can have their names shared with the community on a podcast episode. If you're open to this, please let us know. All new subscribers may have their names shared with the community as well. Of course, we know privacy is important to some, so this is a voluntary option. Our goal is to create a vibrant and strong community of amazing like-minded people. The next project we're working on is highlighting your past injustices or abuses with the criminal justice system. We may use some of them in social media videos and posts. Another thing we would like for you to do, if you or a loved one is currently enduring bad or unfair treatment in the criminal justice system, from arrests all the way to imprisonment, we would like to hear it. We may expose the maltreatment and try to help you by bringing public attention to it. Just contact us on our website or leave us a text or voice message at 302-827-7746.
Hey, friends. Don't forget, all new subscribers get a free digital copy of one of my books, Defund DOC or The Art of Living. If you invite some of your social media community and they subscribe, we will give you the other book too. Please refer your family and friends today.
Welcome back to the Defund DOC podcast. And what about facial recognition software? We've heard stories about it being used by law enforcement to identify suspects.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to soon be these AI robots walking around that can literally look at your face and tell if you got a warrant, tell if you haven't paid a parking ticket, tell if you have bullied somebody on social media. Who knows? I mean, the crisis that we're facing in this country is unimaginable.
Facial recognition software is still under development, and it's not perfect. There have been documented cases of misidentification, particularly with people of color. Imagine being wrongfully accused of a crime based on a faulty AI program. The potential for abuse is significant. These are just a few examples of the dangers posed by AI in the criminal justice system, but it's not all doom and gloom. There are ways to mitigate these risks. First of all, we need robust data privacy laws. AI algorithms are only as good as the data they're trained on. Biased data will lead to biased outcomes. We need to ensure that the data used to develop AI for law enforcement is fair and representative.
Absolutely. We already have unfairly long sentences being handed out reflecting the state's self-serving interest in free slave labor. There's a book called State Constitutionalism and the Crisis of Excessive Punishment by Robert J. Smith. This is a crisis of being over-incarcerated in this country. And with AI now having algorithms that have biasness and prejudice, those familiar with the social justice causes will find it no surprise that the first community laid off from their job, criminalized, and over-incarcerated is minorities. In hard economic times, it has always been the minorities who have suffered the most. This is in case law, Vulcan Pioneers versus the New Jersey Department of Civil Services. This is a historical fact that law enforcement has a history of criminalizing minorities, particularly by attacking their vices or weapons. So just keep in mind, if you have a felony record, you're a minority now. If you grew up in foster care, you're a minority. If you're black or brown, you're a minority. If you're mental health, you're a minority. That's what we're facing, ladies and gentlemen. If you're severely poor, impoverished, you're a minority. I mean, these are things that we need to address, ladies and gentlemen.
The future of AI in law enforcement is uncertain, but by taking proactive steps now, we can ensure that this powerful technology is used for good and not evil. We can prevent mass incarceration from becoming an even greater stain on our nation's history.
Yeah, I mean, they've got actual studies that say that one of the most vulnerable populations in this country is those with mental health problems. At mid-year 2005, this is an older statistic, but more than half of all prison and jail inmates had a mental health problem. That's half, ladies and gentlemen. We're criminalizing mental health in this country. It's an atrocity.
Politicians and media often demonize entire groups, making them more vulnerable to the criminal justice system. This us versus them mentality fosters a dangerous environment.
Absolutely. And that's why there's a lot of people that are trying to stand up against the corrupt system. There are many organizations like defundDLC.net that are trying to expose and reverse these cruelly long sentences, such as the Coalition to Abolish Death by Incarceration. People like to dismiss the fact that when you put somebody in prison for 30 years, you're giving them a death sentence. That's a death sentence. Don't get it mistaken that a 20-year prison sentence or a 30-year prison sentence or anything like that is not a death sentence. People, this is a tragedy. I don't understand how the state or the government can have the audacity to murder our fellow citizens with long prison sentences when they have not murdered anybody to deserve a death sentence. So that's why we're here, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why you're part of this community, and because you're our friends and you're our people, and we have to unite. United we stand, and divided we fall. For decades, the government has had mass media and politicians demonizing and vilifying troubled Americans using propaganda to justify their mass enslavement scheme. Just look at the unconstitutionality of government propaganda by Carolyn Mala Corbin, and she says that stigmatizing troubled Americans so thoroughly and effectively that most citizens in this country have deep prejudices and biases towards prisoners. Virtually every story in the news that begins with criminal, violent, or felon is unconsciously judged negatively, even if the person that's spoken about in the story is a familiar neighbor that you watch grow up. All of a sudden, that familiarity is forgotten and the neighbor is criminalized. This is by design, ladies and gentlemen. Years of propaganda and manipulation has ensured such groupthink. There's a book called Groupthink, A Study in Self-Delusion by Christopher Booker that sheds light on the remarkable and worrying effects of groupthink and its influence on U.S. society.
It's important to address not only the technology, but also the underlying societal issues that contribute to mass incarceration. Ending the war on drugs, legalizing marijuana, and focusing on rehabilitation are all crucial steps towards a more just system.
Yeah, absolutely. The war on drugs has to end. It's a failure. I mean, this is the thing. I forget the name of the guy in the cabinet of Nixon, but he said that his exact words were somewhere to the effect that they wanted to incarcerate all the black people that were agitating for political change and all the hippies. And they couldn't do that constitutionally, so what they did is they criminalized their vices and the things they used in their communities. Just look around how effective that was. That's a true data fact that Nixon's administration did. They were the ones that kicked off the drug war. Essentially, the war on drugs made America the world's biggest incarcerator. That's in the book, The War on Drugs and the Surveillance Society, that was written by the ACLU J. Stanley. The truth is, for decades, government, politicians, and mass media has framed the crime war quite effectively and in the most stark and alienating fashion. Nowhere is this more visible than the vilification of drugs and the drug epidemic. Race, class, and the framing of drug epidemic by Rebecca Tigger exposed this. This is the thing. When you get addicted to drugs, okay, it's a choice on the first or second time that you use drugs, but once you use drugs chronically, what it does is it creates new synapses in your brain, and those connectors have altered the way that you live life. You have now developed a disease that you have to get treatment for. You have to start working on to combat. Just like if you have depression or bipolar or any of those illnesses. And the thing is, the government is criminalizing a disease. They're criminalizing mental health, and they've criminalized behavioral health.
DefundDOC.net offers educational resources. These are creative ways to engage the public in this important conversation. The historical trajectory of mass incarceration puts a significant portion of the population at risk.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. They've done actual studies on this. There's a book called Prisons of Poverty, Uncovering the Pre-Incarceration Incomes of Imprisoned Communities, and this was done by the Prison Policy Initiative, Burnett Rambo and Daniel Kopp back in 2015, and they've essentially exposed the fact that virtually everybody incarcerated was living in poverty before their incarceration. Essentially, what is going on is that politicians have been using their bully pulpit, and mass media and government has been using that bully pulpit to fully stigmatize our troubled people. We have to end stigma. The long-term effects of incarceration on our people's health is outrageous. So we need to bring these resources to bear and expose the injustices happening in this community. That's why we at DefundDOC.net are offering our free book, Defund DOC, Turning All Prisons into Treatment and Career Centers, for free for those that are subscribing to the podcast. We really need your help to get the word out there. Let's build this community and actually combat this plague that is facing our people. This is a corrupt system, and it has to end. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for bearing with us in this compelling podcast episode about how AI is going to disrupt our worlds and overly incarcerate masses of our people if we don't do something about it. The thing is that we have a very big, dangerous future ahead of us with AI. If we don't have a universal income, if we don't have community groups watching over these algorithms and these AI-instituted policies or software developments in regards to facial recognition, drones, robotics. I mean, we're about to have tons of robot cops walking around that are going to be able to arrest you. I mean, this is our future, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, can you believe this? So let's get organized, get behind Defund DOC, and let's start talking about the change that we can do together. Also, we are going to be doing this reality show. We have an exciting reality show that we're going to produce. It's going to be called Love in Prison Activism. Me and Linda have already looked and done research in regards to production companies. Essentially, everybody that wants to participate can be a part of it. We need as many people as we can get. We definitely need advocates in virtually every state that are willing to be on the show, but then we also need vast amounts of people to be a part of the protest. So, ladies and gentlemen, the crowdfunding is going to start on July 4th. Anybody that donates is literally getting a ticket to be a part of the show. You might just be a protester at these rallies, or you could be a potential cast member. But regardless, you are part of the history being developed right in front of our eyes. We are the Underground Railroad, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody else is fighting this fight but us. I mean, there's tons of organizations, but we need to put this in the media. Another episode is over. We want to keep improving this podcast. podcast, so we need your suggestions for future episodes. Also, as you know, I have been in prison almost 20 years, so if you have any questions about the criminal justice system, feel free to ask and I will try to answer it. Please email your suggestions or questions on our website. Do you have a social media community that you can share our posts with? Please join our social media platforms and share our posts. That really helps. Also, I know you are busy, but taking one moment to do a review would help us tremendously. Thank you all.